In this video, we're going to be doing a long-term review of our 2019 F250 with the 6.2 liter gas V8 with 430 gears. This is going to have all the good along with all the bad, and I'm also going to link the playlist of the first day we got this truck all the way until now. So if you are interested in SuperDuty content, check out the playlist. I'll put it in the description and in the comment section. But like I said, this is going to have all the good along with all the bad. I'm going to start with the good first, and I'll go into the bad stuff, and it's just going to be a general review of the truck long term. So we have 10,000 miles on the truck. It's all been snow plowing, and it's been salting and towing. So even though it's only 10,000 miles, it is 10,000 working miles, and if you really think about it, it's more like 30,000 miles of use. So it's a STX truck, and STX is pretty much a trim package that you get on a XL, and essentially what that gives you versus an XLT, you don't have your fancy chrome door handles. You get plain black. You don't have your keypad. You get plain matte black keypads. You get a aluminum wheel. These are different in 2020, and I'm sure they're different whatever time you're watching this video, but in 2019 these are the wheels you got, and I believe they ran these in 17 and 18 as well. Continental tires are original. Looking inside with an XTX, you do not get a power seat. You get a manual seat that can't go up and it can't go down. So being for snow plowing, not being able to take that out, being that it's for snow plowing, not being able to go up and down, if you're short, you might have to look into getting an upgraded seat or just going up to an XLT, because I can barely see the plow when I put it down. It'd be nice if the seat would go up. Even if it were manual, it'd be nice if the seat can go up. It's a manual front and back with the lever here underneath. You get a vinyl floor, and I've gone back and forth on whether I like the vinyl floor or not. I've previously made the statement that the vinyl floors aren't as good, but now thinking about everything involved, the vinyl floors might be the best solution. One thing is, if you're getting in and out with a lot of snow, it's not hard for your moisture to creep into this crack here. So if there's a way for a floor mat to cover that up, or keep that more contained. Because when you're doing snow plowing, if you're in and out a lot like I am, then snow and salt will creep its way down, and that is no good for your wiring harness, which is right under here. So if there's a way to seal this, maybe put some tape over it just when you're plowing, that would work. But for the everyday guy, that's not going to be an issue. So looking forward, we got our plow mounted here, and the reason we picked this spot, which is kind of controversial, a lot of people don't like it there, but this is just a spot where we can drill our little mount here. We could put our screws there, and it's not really going to mess nothing up. And this little piece here, come time to sell the truck, you didn't ruin your whole instrument panel. This can be popped off and replaced if it was an issue. Where it's like a knee bolster, that's a bigger part. All the other parts in the truck are a lot bigger. This is easy to reach, even though you can grab it with your left hand. It's still easy enough to reach, and it keeps it out of the way. And it's in a good enough spot. I kind of thought about mounting it here off of something like this, but this is how I hold my phone, and it has all the information for our routes and everything on it and whatever. With the STX though, you generally get this in the center. You don't get the full center console generally. I don't believe you can even get the full center console, and I have no problems with this. I haven't had any issues. It's comfortable enough. It's nice that you can pick it up and have another seat there. There's another seat belt there and everything, and I haven't had no problems out of it. The seats themselves, they're comfortable enough on the XLs. I haven't had any problems with that. They are firm. I haven't had problems being in them for a long time, and I've been in these seats for 14 plus hours. And it's kind of weird. Even though it's an XL, you realize you don't need all the heated seats and cooled seats and all that stuff. As long as it's comfortable enough, that's good enough. So the steering wheel is a hard plastic, and at first I kind of thought, man, this steering wheel is not great. But being that we're plowing snow, we're always gripping on this thing and yanking on the steering wheel. And a leather steering wheel, quite frankly, wouldn't last very long. I think plastic is the way to go. And when you're working, it's kind of better, in my opinion. Looking at the infotainment, you have a 360-degree camera, which is nice. is a nice feature to have on an XL, and I'm glad that Ford will allow that for an XL. Looking at the camera package here, let's turn on the key so we can see that. The camera package has your reverse cameras, has your camera button there, which is good. Surprisingly, the stereo doesn't sound too bad at all, even though it's an XL. It's not the fancy Bang & Olufsen, and I have a truck with the Bang & Olufsen, and yeah, the Bang & Olufsen sound system's a little bit better because it has a subwoofer, but aside from the subwoofer, it's not too dramatic of a difference. I mean, yes, the higher trim level sound system is better, but this one sounds just fine. The camera package is really nice. You get a forward facing camera, which you'd be surprised how much you use that, and you can also expand it. You can go through and all the different settings. You can look down into the bed of your truck, and you can also add an auxiliary camera. Also, I believe in reverse, you get a few more features. You get the trailer feature, which lets you look down the side of your truck and see your trailer, which is pretty cool. It's the trailer reverse guide, and I think it even has something for the steering, like it tells you which way to turn, but I've never used that. Let's put it back in park here and keep looking. You don't have your heated seats or anything. You have basic seats. Your climate controls are pretty much basic. You get the e-soft on all trucks after 2018, I believe. Some of the older 17 still have the shift down on the floor, but now I think they're all electronic shift. And with the 430 gears, I think the locking rear end is standard. We also have a 400 watt max inverter, which is cool for charging cell phones. It's not the best for charging a lot of batteries. You can charge rigid batteries, but not Milwaukee. And I don't know every brand of battery, but I know rigid works, Milwaukee doesn't. But you know, I would like to see a little bit more than 400 watts at this stage in the game, with competition being fierce and everything. I think the first company to offer like 1,000 watts would be doing something next level, because 400 watts, I mean, it gets overwhelmed pretty quickly. You got your glove box, dual glove box, get a little bit of stuff in there. Cheap plastic. It doesn't really bother me. It's kind of painted a magnetic color. It looks good enough, and I wouldn't mind driving this truck every day with the interior the way it is. Plastic everywhere, just plain black plastic. No thrills, no chrome, no nothing like that on the interior. Very little chrome on the interior. You do have automatic headlights, which is great. For at this trim level, being that it is an XL, you never have to worry about turning your headlights. One thing that I would like to see a little better is a mirror here. It wouldn't be that much to have standard mirror here, but it ain't no big deal. Somehow I did forget to get the upfitter switches on the build, and just the process of building these trucks is so complicated. Somehow that got left out, but honestly, I haven't had any use for it, because whenever we add something to the truck, it usually has its own relay. You don't need an upfitter switches for a plow. You don't need upfitter switches for salter. It would be good for lights, but that's probably the best thing to have with upfitter switches, just lights. But yeah, maybe a power inverter would run good on the upfitter switch. But yeah, being that this is a STX XL truck, you still have power everything. You still have power windows, power locks. You still have forward pass, which lets you start the vehicle with your phone. You still have the 4G hotspot, which we do not have enabled. You still get quite a few features. You just don't have the luxury of a XLT. You don't have the heated seats, and obviously you don't have the leather. Looking at the front though, this is what you get. It is a nice truck, and I could see myself driving this truck every day. Let me show you guys some stuff here in the back. Let me take this key out of here so it won't beep so much. Looking at the back of the truck here. Looking at the back of the truck, you guys probably already know that Fords have huge back seats, along with GM and Dodge. They all have huge back seats. One thing that's cool that you probably don't know is that you can drop this rear seat pretty easily. There's a little switch there. You just kind of pull this down, like this, kind of like work this in the middle section a little bit. Moving this around gives you a little bit more access. And then there's a little switch, I don't know if you can see it, but it's right back here, right there. You just kind of lift up on that, and then this can drop. So if you want to mount something back here like a subwoofer, or I'm thinking about actually doing a big power inverter back here, and that is how you do it. That little switch, it lets you drop it. They also make a little thing that can tie to it. Some people have tied strings to it, but they make something that you can just tie up here. Special kit that allows you to drop your seat. Your spare tire is over here on the other side, which I believe that side's a lot easier to drop. But I'm thinking about doing like a power inverter down there. We have a high output alternator, which that would be pretty cool. I want something that's big enough to power like a decent sized refrigerator. You know, if you lose power at our house for a couple hours, maybe this could power some of the things in our house, like a refrigerator or something, if I had that inverter. But as you see, the back seat, this has just been great for our crew during snow. Put 4 guys in here, shovels in the bed of the truck, and everybody's got room and everybody's comfortable. So this has been great for our business. Just huge backseat space. Moving forward, on the outside, another thing you probably don't know about these trucks that is probably different from the other vehicles in the market. Not only is the whole truck aluminum, but the cab corners on the truck are actually plastic and popped on. So where you usually see the worst spot to get rust on the truck is a cab corner. These are plastic, so they will not rust. But the whole truck is aluminum, so the whole truck won't rust either. So we've been salting with the truck, and the aluminum is not really even affected by the salt. Here's a look at the tailgate camera there. There's a light there as well, and drops down real easy. As you see, the aluminum bed. Now keep in mind, this truck has had salt in it, and the aluminum is a lot more resilient. Here are some scratches in the paint, and the aluminum is not corroding like a steel truck would. Underneath here, I'm sure some salt's gotten under there, and I should probably take it off and clean under, but there's no real rot of anything underneath here. So the aluminum, in my opinion, kind of sets these trucks, especially the SuperDuties, on another level, because they are generally on the road so much more, especially for plowing snow. You know, this, if the engine goes on this after 200,000 miles and the body's still good, then you could justify maybe doing some engine work. Whereas usually when you need engine work, the whole truck's kind of toast. Hopefully these last a little bit longer. But here's a look at the truck. These are the tires you get on the XLT STX, which are nice. They're a little bit nicer than the bone stock steel wheels that you get on the XL truck. This truck, like I said, has 430 gears, which is nice. The 430 gears are great for snow plowing. The reason I say that is it makes it easier to haul that heavy weight. Once you get that salt in there and that plow in the front, you're talking easily over 3,000 pounds of weight. And those 430 gears get you moving a lot easier than the 3.73 gears that you get stock. Also, what I noticed with the 430 gears is when you're turning with four-wheel drive and you're plowing snow, it's easier for the drivetrain to overcome the binding that occurs in the steering system while you're plowing. So we've had a lot less fatigue while plowing. It's easier for the tires to kind of hop over the pavement because you do end up plowing in somewhat dry. I mean, you scrape down a lot and it's not as slippery, and it's hard to steer with those 373 gears. I feel like the 430 gears had something to do with how much easier it is to steer and maneuver in four-wheel drive. You still have your locking hubs, which, because we have the E-Soft, we haven't used those, but they are there. They do work still. One thing to remember if you have these trucks is to keep this lubricated with something, because once this plastic deteriorates, then these actually freeze up on you. But if you're under warranty, they can be replaced. I've had them replaced on my previous truck. I don't know if Ford changed anything, but my 15, I had to replace these because they wouldn't turn anymore. But it's good to keep that system working. The vacuum system is really reliable, and the vacuum system is probably going to last the life of the truck, no problem. But it's still good to be able to lock it. I don't know what the difference is when you lock it, but maybe there's some difference. As you see, we have our Fisher snowplow hooked up. This should be tucked in. But as you see, we have our Fisher, it's not hooked up, but our mount is hooked up. Fisher makes a great plow. But yeah, the body's lasted a good over snow plowing, and the frame is actually done pretty well too. We do a little bit of undercoating, but you know, we could do more. Let's take a quick look underneath the hood. Well, I'm going to pop the hood now, but before I go under the hood, I want to show you some other things that if you're looking at these trucks, you might be interested in. When we ordered the truck from the factory, we ordered plastic liners for the front, for the rear, and we ordered mud flaps for the front and rear as well from the factory, which is really nice. So with that, you get a really nice Ford mud flap with Ford stamped on it, OEM quality stuff. Well, it is OEM, it came from the factory, so that puts all this stuff under warranty. You have plastic underneath here instead of the cheap cloth, and you actually still have that cheap cloth stuff, it's just underneath the plastic stuff. So you have two layers here. So you have whatever is stock, and you have the plastic over that, which is great for plowing snow. Along here in the rear, we did a OEM from the factory liner, and it's a no-brainer. If you're ordering one of these trucks, do a custom order, do the liner, because it's going to be cheaper than buying the stuff after, and you're not going to have to worry about installing it. The mud flaps as well, you're not going to have to install it, and mud flaps are expensive. So that is from the factory, and that's really a great feature. It seems like the truck is pretty well equipped to keep corrosion off of it, even though it is aluminum. So looking at the engine here, there's some things under the hood. At the time when we ordered this truck, the thing was the alternator, the extra heavy duty alternator was a thing. That gives you 240 amps. I think now the heavy duty alternator is 240 amps, and there's a lower level one, so they don't have as many options. At the time when I ordered this, they had a 220 amp and a 240 amp, but I opted for the 240 amp. That is a lot of power. It keeps your plow running good. The standard 200 amp alternator that was available before was not enough for a Western wideout. It drained the batteries. The Western wideout did with a 200 amp alternator and a single battery. With a 240, we've been able to run plow, salter, all that stuff at the same time. We never had any issues with power. We were never starved for power at all. Also, we have dual batteries, which also comes into play because your reserve capacity is now doubled, and you don't have to worry about running out of power. So that is something to think about if you're going to plow or do any kind of upfitting with one of these trucks. Looking at the engine, your 6.2, your tried and true V8. It's been out for a while. The new 7.3 is out, which is a better engine on paper, and time will tell if it will be more reliable than this, but it probably will be a reliable engine. But yeah, it's just a good engine. There's enough room underneath here to work. It's a little bit high, a little bit hard to get up in there, but still nonetheless enough room to work. And we've had absolutely no problems with the motor, with the 6-speed transmission. And there's a new 10-speed out, but the 6-speed, like I say, it's tried and true. Those 6 speeds are really reliable, but I'm sure the 10 speeds will be okay as well. But great engine, really great, because it makes its power a little bit higher in the RPM band. Really good with the 430 gears, gets loads moving really nicely. 4-wheel drive works better with 430 rear gears. Just overall great performing truck, great for plowing snow. Trying to think if I covered everything I want to cover. The hitch on the truck is bigger than what you got in the past. It's a 2.5-inch shank, I believe. So it's a real heavy shank. The 450s have bigger. I think the 350s have bigger. It gives you 1,500 pounds of tongue weight and 15,000 pounds towing, which is great. And this hitch is a waist safe, and it gives you all those It gives you that much towing. Lets you use the full capacity of the truck, which is great. You don't have to worry about weight distribution and things like that. So going with that 250 is good, because with a 150 you can tow 13,000 pounds if you get the right package, but you got to worry about weight distribution over 5,000 pounds. Whereas this, it's a cheaper truck than the 150, and you can tow whatever you want to tow. But yeah, you got your chrome bumpers. One regret that I do have going with this truck is not just going ahead and getting a 350, because with a 350 you can have a heavier leaf spring setup with an overload spring and have a little bit more payload. Now if you get a gas engine with the payload package, you have to get a longer bed, so I'm kind of in trouble either way. To really get the payload advantage, you need a long bed, and then you got a longer truck, which is hard to maneuver while plowing. This is probably like where you want to be with plowing. Really, a regular cab is better because it's shorter, but this does work. It's not too bad. Even though it's a crew cab, you got your 6.5 foot bed. It does work. So all in all, it's been a great truck. Now for the negatives, now for the bad things with the truck. Let's see. What the main issue, there's not a lot of bad things with the truck. Really, there's one thing. The water leak. The water leaks that I have. Now, there's a lot of places where water can leak that I've seen in the online, because I've looked into it, because I have a water leak. And the third brake light can leak water. Any of the windshield, the rear glass can leak, and the front windshield can leak. Also, your cab lights can leak. So if you ever get a leak, just try to figure out where it's coming from before you take it in, just so you know something. You want to know something before you go to the dealership. So with water leaks, the things to watch out for with these trucks, inherently when you have a rubber floor, if you don't let the rubber floor give you a false sense of security, if you bring water in this truck and it's too much, it's going to work its way down through here, and it's going to get on your wiring harness, which is right under here. If you bring salty shoes in your vehicle, you're going to have salt building up underneath your panel here and getting on your electrical wiring that controls your truck, and potentially causing issues with your truck. So salt water is very conductive and it's very destructive to electronic components. So even though you have a vinyl floor, you got to be careful, and you got to get a good mat. We're running Huskies right now because they have a good ridge right here. You have to have a really good mat, even with vinyl floors. Some people, I've seen this, think that you could just hose down your floor with a water hose. No, that's not the case. You have to keep your truck dry, even though you have rubber floors. What I recommend is to just, if you're like me, now the average person can just use the truck as it's intended. But if you're in and out of your truck a lot with salty shoes like I am, next year, I'm going to tape this shut with some kind of a tape. Nothing crazy that I can't ever get off, but just, take maybe some alcohol, clean it up, and something that's going to adhere decent, maybe duct tape, but something that can come off and won't ruin the truck. But I'm going to cover this up, this seal, so that if water does get it, I'm still going to try to keep the water off of it, but water does get in there, it won't wick its way down into these seals. You don't want that, and that's definitely happened to this truck. And I thought water was building up into this area, and I thought that it was me, but turns out there is a water leak. And the water leak that I'm having is really tough to locate where it's at. But when I wet up the windshield, I got water coming down, and it's actually dripping down here by the transmission hump. So it's probably something in the cowl area. I don't know. We're going to take it in and figure it out. But you want to know where it's coming from. So if you have a really weird water leak and you take it in and it's hard to find, then that dealership might blame you for that leak, being that they might say you bringing it in through your shoes. You have to kind of know. What I did is I took out the seat and I set the seat aside, and I lifted up the carpet and I wet the truck down, and I could see the water dripping way through there, and it wasn't easy to find. So now that I know that there is a leak, I'm going to actually take the truck in now and get it serviced. And that leak finally took out my wire harness, and my radio is not working whenever it rains. So when it rains, this all gets wet and the radio stops working. So hopefully that all gets figured out. I'll keep you updated. Subscribe if you want to know what happens with that. Will they fix it? Will they charge me? I don't know. Hopefully they fix it, but if they charge me, then I'll just let you guys know. We'll work it out. It's not going to be that big a deal, but we'll figure it out. And also, I'll link the videos that related to the water leaks in this video. I'll link them in the description and in the comment section. As far as negatives that go, I think that might really be it. I'm trying to think of what other problems. I really haven't had any other problems other than that. The 430 gears, they've been great. The fuel economy, it's been great. You know, even going with a 430 gear, the fuel economy is still great. It's no loss of power. And I wonder how come that is, if it's more efficient, making that power, as that power makes that 90-degree turn, if it's easier for a 430 gear, I don't know. The engine RPMs are a bit higher with the 430s, but with this truck and setup, it ain't hurting the MPG. So if you're thinking about 430 gears or you're thinking about MPG, don't. 430 gears, I think, are going to be more efficient, because in the city, those 430 gears are going to be more efficient than the 373s. And on the highway, maybe a little less, but honestly, guys, I can't tell. I can't notice anything. But yeah, I mean, negatives, it's not a lot. Just that one thing. Everything else with the truck's been great. I love the truck. I love plowing with it, just driving it all winter, and it's just been great. So comment below, tell me what you think about this review. I'm going to link this playlist of this truck from the first day we got it to the point where we got our plow put on it, and all the other videos we've done with it, all the water leaks we've had, messing around with it, trying to figure out what's wrong. And let me know if you think it will be cool to do some other upgrades to the truck. I'm thinking about maybe doing some tires, maybe like some 34s or 35s with the OEM rims. Maybe keep the OEM rims and just do tires. But comment below, let me know what you think. Hope to hear from you soon. Check out the playlist. Have a great day, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.